What's up, Cradle fans? We've got a long one in store for us today, but bear with me, it's good. There's three-ish parts to this book. There's three-ish parts to this video. One, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on what Uncrowned was in relation to the rest of the series. Then I'm going to talk about my thoughts on what happened in the book. And then I'm going to wrap up with my thoughts on where the book has set us up to go in Wintersteel. Okay? So, stick with me. I think you'll like it. Alright, so, spoiler warning. I'm talking about a book that just came out. It hasn't been out for 2 months yet, so these are going to be spoilers. If you have not read Uncrowned, don't watch this video. At all. Even about the next part that has nothing to do with what's in the book. I'm talking about the book. Just go read it. Okay, thanks. Bye. Alright, so before I talk about what I liked and some theory related stuff in the book, I'm going to talk about the book. I liked the book because I got what I expected to get, which was the first book of a new trilogy set that opens up the world, shows us some cool sacred arts, and gives us hints at what we're going to be getting coming up. And that's what we got. That's what I expected for the most part. So there, according to will be 12 books. That's 4 trilogy sets, okay? So he's actually like combining the trilogy sets into their own like bundles. The first trilogy set is called The Foundations. You can find it on Amazon. At Dragon Con, he told us what the second trilogy set will be called. And don't quote me on this, but it's something along the lines of The Path to Gold or Path to Gold. So if you think about the first trilogy, you learn about the foundations of sacred arts, right? In Unsold, we are told about the basics of sacred arts. You learn the foundations of sacred arts, and you think that jade is the shit, okay? You learn about soul smithing, you learn that that's a thing, you learn about aura, you learn about remnants, you learn about treasure rooms and how it's expensive to advance in the sacred arts. Then it opens up the world for that. And then in the next 2 books, you get deeper into those 2 things about the basics of the sacred arts, soul smithing, how jade is not the end of the road, but you get my meaning. So then we get into this. That's the first trilogy set. The second trilogy set starts with Skysworn. What's the most, prior to this book, what was the most or the lowest rated of the books? They're all 4.5 stars on Amazon, but Skysworn opened up the world again. We finished an arc. He got to gold. Then we get into Skysworn. Opens up the book again, introduces topics that we will need going forward. Talking about the Phoenix and Monarchs and Blood Shadows. Important things, okay? Talking about an event coming up. Preparing us, right? So Skysworn, a lot of people like Skysworn the least because it bridged 2 things. It brought in the duel with Jai Long, and then introduced the Skysworn and blah blah blah. Well, it was the first book of the second trilogy. So like I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that Will structures things this way, right? So now we get to the first book of the second half of the series. It's also the first book of the next trilogy arc. So we have a book where we're introduced to a lot of new players. We're given a lot of information we've been wanting. And we're introduced to some topics that are going to be pertinent going forward. Okay? It was a world-building book to prepare us for the cool stuff coming in the next 2 books. That's what I expected. That's what I got. Okay, so let me get into the actual meat. Like what happened in the book that I like. Sacred Valley still has my heart. I was so excited when I started reading that. It wasn't long enough. I wanted to know more, and it is the teaser that keeps on teasing. We were also teased about why people are so weak in Sacred Valley. That was cool. But I liked it because he gave us the effect. He didn't give us the cause. So we know that people are bled, basically their strength leaks away until they're jade. But we don't know the cause of that. We don't know the mechanisms behind it. We don't know the why. We don't know if it's permanent. It's probably not. And so on and so forth. That was cool. It was a nice little... I'll stop making posts about that. We learned that Kelsa... Well, we learned that the Wei clan was not destroyed. We learned that the Wei clan gave up the Shi family, and that Kelsa and Jiran are chilling in an area full of outcasts of all the different clans. So that was interesting. There's like a clan of outcasts chilling in Sacred Valley. I wish we'd seen the two Jai siblings, but whatever. Then we learned that poor Lyndon's mom was taken in to replace, I think it was Soulsmith Serenity, was the Soulsmith, the only Soulsmith mentioned at the Heaven's Glory School. And we know she died. She was an elder. She died against Tim's remnant. We'll get to that later. Tim's remnant. And now Lyndon's mom gets to be that. That sucks. But we didn't get much more than that. It was cool. It was really cool. I wanted to see more, but whatever. That was exciting. That started the book off on the right foot. Then we learned about the Abadan's issues. Again, this is the first book of a trilogy setting up a conflict that's going to be important later. Okay? The Abadan are having some issues because the Anglers stole the 12 sides, forged them into one, and gave them to the Mad King. Now we're going to have some problems. It's going to lead to some stuff that happens later in the book. Now, when I made my video of the things I'm looking forward to in Uncrowned, the first thing on that list was the training montage. We got the training montage. We got the Black Flame team's training montage. We got the Akura team's training montage. It was awesome. One of my favorite parts about this section, or like the training montage in general, and about the whole book in general, is that we're learning about what really makes the sacred arts and what's going to be applied later. I'm going to keep coming back to this theme of we are presented with how things will progress later in the books. And the first taste of that we get is how a herald overlaps the different techniques into like a combined super powerful technique, which is so interesting because going back to Sacred Valley, where they only teach you one of the 4 types of techniques based on what your soul is best at. Now we're getting to the point where you're not even just using these different attacks in combat as it's needed. You're creating techniques where they're combined. And I like that we had originally seen that with Mercy, with the way that she fired her bow, but I thought that was just an aspect of her bow that let her do that. But that's the way that things are supposed to be done. It allows you to hide your techniques. It allows you to just do all sorts of cool stuff. So that was really cool that we got to see how Akura Fury showed that off. And then, of course, we'd love to see Lyndon be rewarded for the pain that he endures. So that's one thing that makes Lyndon Lyndon, is that he's willing to endure the worst crap ever, as long as he thinks that there's a payout. As long as he can get his money's worth, or return a profit, a return on investment of time spent, pain endured, he's all for it. So he lets these Akura kids beat up on him for months, half a year, but because he knows he's creating, you know, a repository of knowledge that he's going to use to just mop the floor with them in a situation that benefits him. I love that. So all in all, the training montage lived up to the hype. Very, very happy with that. Next, we're going to get into the world building. So as soon as they leave, we start to get introduced with all sorts of new types of stuff. We get to learn about different sects, which I don't even remember the sect that got destroyed by Zorus, which is so unfortunate. But then we get to learn about the Frozen Blade sect. We get to learn about, you know, the Sage of Frozen Blade, or the Winter Sage, or whatever you want to call her. We get to see the Nine Cloud Court. We get to see that they have a network construct. I didn't know that was a thing, so it's almost like a sentient network construct. That's really interesting. But mainly we get to learn about all the monarchs' paths. We haven't learned about the Eight-Man Empire's path, but Will already kind of talked about that. But we did get to learn about Regan Shen's path. We got to learn more about Northstrider's path. We learned about Sheth Kunaz's path. We learned more about the Shaw families, Madra, a mutation. They're mutants. Even on Cradle, there's mutants. So that was cool. Just a lot of the questions we've been debating were put to rest. We learned about the next level of magic system, about what, like, it's not, Will's not calling it willpower, he's calling it authority. How much authority you have over things. We learned that there's a focus point of authority, apparently, in the form of an icon. We hear icon mentioned a couple times. We hear about the sword icon, and then we hear about a dragon icon. So I wonder what kind of icons there are. Is there a fate icon that Eithan is somehow tapping into to know everything about everything? Wouldn't that be interesting? I don't know. But icon is a thing. It looks like that's what sages are able to tap into at Arklord, maybe? I don't know. Monarchs know about it. I'm assuming heralds do too. The fact that Fury was able to see the icon just alongside Charity. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But the fact that Urine was able to get in, like, use it was cool. Because we get to see one of our people use a next level magic system. And that allowed her to beat a kid with all of the advantages. Also, here's one thing I want to bring up. Is it just me, or did Northstrider demonstrate that he has some of the healing abilities of the Phoenix? He was able to have so much authority over one zone of area that he was able to will people to revert back to their perfect state. That feels like a Phoenix ability. We've seen Serial, you know, use her will to just wipe someone out of existence, to revert everything back. I don't know. You wouldn't think Northstrider would be Phoenix capable, but he seems to be Phoenix capable. I thought that was interesting. Alright, let's move on to the next theme I want to talk about is Eithan's manipulation. There is a subplot of this book about Eithan manipulating everything. He knows everything. It's so frustrating, but it's awesome. He sandbagged the entire book again. I didn't think he could. In fact, I lost a bet because of it, which I'll talk about later because it's going to determine the content of my next video. So somehow, Eithan was able to train Yeren to tap into the sword icon. Somehow, he was able to train her. Someone who has been standoffish to his tutelage thus far. That's okay. So the Safarinov encounter, I'm pretty sure he was sandbagging the entire time. If anything, he could have caused her big blast that was aimed at the ship to destroy it to be screwed up. I think the reason why he let it land was because he didn't want to endanger anyone else's lives. And he figured that because Lyndon wasn't with them, Safarinov would have, well, she would leave after she, you know, screwed it up. And that's what happened. That's what happened. He could have probably messed her up, then whatever. But yeah, he sandbagged at the tournament every single round. So, but not only, he sandbagged with so much authority. Because think about this. He's involved in all of these encounters, and yet he knows that he has to screw them up a little bit. But not only does he know that he has to screw them up, he knows exactly how much he has to screw up in real time. In real time, as it's happening. So he's somehow able to see the scoreboard. and then be able to gauge his own abilities against all of the other 94 participants so that he makes it exactly into the top 64. That's like way beyond what we've seen him do already. Like, sure, he knows where everything is. He knows how to get everywhere. He can get into places that we can't understand. But this is like levels upon levels above that. Like, while monarchs are watching, in real time, he's able to watch everyone else, watch the scoreboard, and make sure that his performance exactly gets 64th. That's crazy. Then he became the treasurer for the Aurelius main branch team and convinced them not to give him anything. Which, that makes sense. That was really cool. So he's redistributing wealth to more benefit his end goals. I like that. Then, this is more random. It's not really Eithan's manipulation, but he was given a second cloud ship. So now he has two. He has a resource cloud ship, which he's probably going to use to recreate the wells. We'll get into this later, but when Northstrider wants to recreate the thing, he's like, we're going to have to gather materials. And then Eithan's like, funny you should ask, because I have a cloud ship that has all that shit. Because he's like planning ahead. He knows the future. Because he taps into the icon of fate. So yeah, that was cool. He has two cloud ships. And then he found Northstrider and tipped him off about Dross. So not only did he find Northstrider, he didn't give a shit about what he said. Showed no deference. Just, what's up, dude? Funny you should be hanging out here because you've got this crazy path that likes to eat stuff. And I don't know if you've seen him, but there's a guy in the tournament that has an arm that likes to eat stuff. But, you know, he's not the only, that's not the only thing he's got that you'd be interested in. Nudge, nudge. Before he gets teleported across the city. He's manipulating everyone. It's so crazy. Pisses me off because he should have, he will advance to Overlord. He will. Against Sophara to win, to beat her, to get the thing. To get penance. But he didn't in this book, and so I lost a bet. That was my bet. I'm going to say it early. I lost a bet. I bet in the Discord, Little Blue. He's a moderator. He's the Discord dad. I bet him. If Eithan advanced to Overlord in the book, he would get a commissioned bit of Cradle art. Whatever I wanted. I had some great ideas. If I lost and Eithan didn't advance to Overlord in the book, I would have to make a video discussing the pros and cons of Lyndon becoming a male escort. Because there's a word of will where someone asked him who would make a better male escort, Simon from the Traveler's Gate series or Lyndon. And Will said Lyndon for reasons. And so Blue wants me to make a video pitching potential skill set or why Lyndon would make a great male escort. And so I'm going to make that video next. So look forward to that. Alright, so the next is the tournament pacing. And I don't really know how I feel about that. I really loved round one where because he said that he based it off the Naruto tournament, and so I was thinking, like, how is he going to do the first round where everyone has to test? But he created like a little virtual reality run through where you test your skills and show them off. I thought that was really cool. The rest of it, like, we've seen Lyndon go inside a treasure room. We've seen him just, you know, gawk at everything. Not worried about it, not seeing him. We've seen him soulsmith things. He's not making anything with new magic systems we haven't seen yet, so I'm not too worried. Like, I don't care. Like, we know what he's going to do. It's not a big deal. So not seeing him build a shield, I don't care about that. The second round, it wasn't like my favorite style. Like, everyone has their own personal preference of like what's up with the tournament. The second round, throwing everyone on like a Hunger Games style island and making them fight off over a cornucopia, like, I didn't care. Like, I've seen enough of my friends play Fortnite and PUBG to care about that too much. Whatever. But I did think it was interesting that Pride put aside his pride. Well, actually, he didn't put aside his pride. His pride is why he didn't advance, because he refused to owe anyone anything. Whatever. Then the third round, seeing Lyndon and Yaren fight. First of all, I was pissed whenever he had to fight Yaren. I felt for him. You know, that was a great move on Will's part. It emotionally compromised so many people. Many of you watching this will have been emotionally compromised by that scene. So many of you were like, Lyndon's got to win. He's been trailing her this whole time. He's confident. He has all the tools. He has every advantage. She's Yaren. She's a prodigy. A sage picked her out to take on his path. He effectively committed, spiritual suicide for her to give her his remnant, allegedly. She can't even read. But she's like, her whole life has been dedicated to the sword. And then she has a blood shadow that lets her fight above her level, at the level of Overlord. So yeah, Lyndon wasn't going to win. He was not going to win. The fact that he got so close is a testament to how hard he's working and all the advantages that he has. It forced Yaren to use her Eithan training to win. Of course, if she uses her Eithan training, she's going to win. It's Eithan, and he allowed her to tap into something that only she could tap into in that moment. So she won. That was awesome. Then we get into some other themes with the Abadan appearing above. I don't know how I feel about that. It was cool in that it's going to force Eithan to step up and stop sandbagging. Yeah. It's also creating a weird situation for Reagan Shen because he's made so many enemies. It's a good thing that he allied with Sesheth Kunaz, and they have pretty much half of the people in the tournament remaining, because pretty much everyone else that gets it would maybe use it to kill him. Eithan has motive to kill him with it. Shah Miara, who's in the tournament still and is being enforced to stay in the tournament by that Hound guy. So the Abadan is forcing a Monarch to stay in an Underlord tournament where a Abadan level weapon that can insta-kill another Monarch is still in play. The other Monarchs must be shitting themselves right now because they have Shah Miara, a teenager, mind you, known to be impulsive. She's in the tournament anyway. Like, I haven't heard anyone talk about how Reagan Shen must be shitting himself because a teenager with a nuke button might aim the nuke at him, and he can't stop it because it removes his deterrent. That's kind of funny. So, like, while all of us are waiting a year to learn what happens, Reagan Shen is shitting his pants for a year, worrying about a Monarch having direct control over winning this super weapon. And then, of course, if Zeal wins it, cool. If Mercy wins it, cool. Whatever. All right, looking to Wintersteel. I'm going to give my predictions of what is going to be in this book. After the tournament ends, this is what I think is going to happen. I think Northstrider agrees to let Yaren be taught by the Sage of Frozen Blade. I think Northstrider is going to basically task Lyndon with creating another presence. He's going to give him a timeline, and then Northstrider is going to be a project manager from hell. And then Lyndon has to build it, or Northstrider takes Dross. So it's like soulsmithing to the death, or you lose your best weapon. That's what I think is going to happen. And I think he's going to put Lyndon under the tutelage of the Sage of Frozen Blade, where he's like, well, if you're teaching her the sword, you need to teach him soulsmithing because he needs to make me a presence. Do what you're told or I'm going to kill you. I think he says, in exchange for building me this, if you succeed, I will then teach you how to better utilize your hunger arm. That would be cool, right? You build me a Dross, I do your arm. I think that because I've thought so much about what would happen if Dross was stolen, I was thinking, well, wonder if Lyndon through Little Blue into a dream well for a long period of time. Maybe she could become a memory construct. She could become a presence. And I was like, nah, that doesn't make sense at all. He's bonded so hard with Dross. Dross has a relationship with Little Blue. They're a team, whatever. Wouldn't make sense. So what I think is going to happen eventually with Blue is that she's going to become the Dross. So Dross manipulates Lyndon's mind, sharpens his mind. He's a mind spirit, right? Well, Little Blue is going to be a spirit. She's going to kind of be like an engineer of his spirit. So think of this like a starship, like the Starship Enterprise. You got Lyndon as the captain, then you've got like Spock making all the rational decisions. I actually don't know Star Trek that well, but anyway, you've got Lyndon, who's, you know, the vessel. You've got Dross, who's assisting with a bunch of extra tasks. And then when Dross is helping Lyndon fight, and then his spirit is taxed, that's when Little Blue comes in and like, extra soul fire, or extra, you know, here's your, like, your channels are now buffed up so you can shoot black flame out of them forever. Like, the techniques that Lyndon is going to be using are going to be a lot more intense. I don't know why I have those in. And are going to be a lot harder for his magic channels. So I think Blue is going to become like the steward of his spirit. And then eventually I think she'll also be able to come out and like fight like a sort of a blood shadow. She's like a blue shadow or something. I don't know. I keep trying to think of all the things she could be. Well, you haven't seen spirits do a whole lot of stuff yet, other than be a mind spirit or fight alongside people. So that's the extent of my knowledge. But I think it's cool. If Mercy comes with them or if Zeal comes with them, they'll have like 5 cloud ships. So you've got the mega cloud ship that's Yaren and Lyndon's. Then you have Eithan's like galloping gazelle ship, which is super fast. That was given to him by Reagan Chen. Then you have basically the resource ship that has all the plants and stuff. That's cool. That's three ships plus Mercy's ship plus if Zeal comes or Pride comes or whatever, more like they're gonna have a freaking armada of cloud ships. There's not gonna be no worry about traveling around the world now because they have the technology. So that's cool. Like I said, setting us up for future books. What else? What else is there? So much. But this is already becoming like a 30-minute video, so I'm gonna cut it at the end. Thank you for going along this long journey with me. Goodbye.